I thank you for joining us this hour in the world tonight. I'm Kelly Wright.
I'm Nayara Haq. For the first time in 30 years, Sudan was prepared to make a full, peaceful transition over to a civilian-controlled democracy. But then this happened. The people are stronger. The return is impossible. They're referencing the old military regime. Unrest erupted in the Sudanese capital of Khartoum after a military coup seized control of the government. The prime minister was arrested after he declined to support the coup. Protesters chanting the national anthem in front of soldiers. This protest happened outside of a military base in Khartoum. Soldiers opened fire on the protesters. At least 2 died, and some had to be taken to the hospital on motorbikes. Officials say the internet has been cut off, and the military closed bridges and blocked roads. Now, Sudan is situated on the coast of East Africa, to the northwest of Ethiopia, which is also going through a humanitarian crisis related to its government. This coup comes days after the U.S. Special Envoy met with Sudanese military. In response, he tweeted this, quote, "It would contravene the constitutional declaration and the democratic aspirations of the Sudanese people," adding, "Any changes to the transitional government by force puts at risk U.S. assistance." The United Nations and the European Union also condemned the attacks. This coup comes more than 2 years after former autocrat Omar al-Bashir was removed from power. The leading Sudanese general says democracy will come, but when the time is right.
A government that consists of independent national caliber will lead the country until the elections with the fair representation of all the people of Sudan. We are keen to achieve justice during the transition through a commission to draft the Constitution, Electoral Commission, High Judicial Council, Constitutional Court, prosecution before the end of November this year.
And joining us now is Joanna LeBlanc, the national security law and foreign policy expert. Joanna, this is very troubling what we're seeing take place in Sudan. Should the Sudanese people believe this general democracy delayed, not denied?
Well, the Sudanese people want a government that is a representation of all societies, whether it be the private sector, the civil society, the people on the street. So an inclusive government. And also the Sudanese people want an election that will be free, fair, transparent, and inclusive of everyone, not just some people. So these are the asks. And I don't think that what the people are asking is far-fetched. I think that the people of Sudan need to live in a society where they feel as though all voices are included and everyone is actually being considered and a part of the democratic process.
Hey, Joanna, this is some of the rhetoric we hear, though, right, from military leaders of the past, that they can guarantee safety and security and that ultimately maybe one day they'll bring back democracy. Talk a bit about the pattern of what's happened with military coups and military regimes throughout Africa.
Yeah, I think it's quite alarming to see the number of coups across the African continent. But what I think is also important for us to note here is the weakness of the various institutions. For example, the judiciary and the rule of law. So in my opinion, if the United States and other allies of these various African countries really want to make an impact and really are concerned about the prosperity of these nations, we need to provide these nations with support and strengthening their institutions versus promoting humanitarian assistance, which is good, but if you don't have strong institutions, we will always be where we are today. When we look at the attack here in the nation's capital, when President Trump was in office, if we did not have strong institutions in America, President Trump would have prevailed and the entire world watched this unveil, and everyone said, thank God that America has strong and independent institutions.
Yet, Joanna, what we're seeing, as Nair was also pointing out, and you as well, we're seeing that in Africa, those strong constitutions aren't always respected when people try to move towards democracy. For example, on the ground there in Sudan, protesters were chanting and demanding peaceful freedom. So what's at stake for the people of Sudan if this doesn't happen?
I think that the government, there's conversations that elections will take place in 2023. And what I can tell you, Kelly, is that elections are not always the answer to democracy. I think America tends to push elections all across the world as a beacon of hope and democracy, when in fact that if you have an election that is not free, fair, transparent, nor inclusive, you are better off without carrying out elections. So it's one thing to have elections, but it's something completely different to have an election where it is inclusive of everyone. But back to your point about the weakness of the laws and the lack of respect for the rule of law, it goes back to my argument. The weakness of these institutions. I think organizations like the USAID and even the State Department really needs to focus on providing these countries and these governments and helping them to establish their systems versus just providing foreign assistance to these countries. Because if we don't help to strengthen those institutions and governance in those respective nations, this will continue to happen across the African continent, especially in a time when people are fed up, people want to be able to send their children to school, people want access to education, to employment, and we look at the migrant crisis out of Sudan as a result of the destabilization of this country.
Joanna, do people trust the military more to provide these things? Because authoritarians often deliver services pretty well.
Well, here's the thing, right? I think that in the Western world, when we think of democracy, we think of the right to choose, we think of having certain individuals or certain institutions to lead. But what I can tell you is that democracy looks different depending on where you are in the world. And sometimes the democracy we have right here in America can and will not work in some of these countries across the African continent. So we need to look at the historical context. We need to look at the actual reality on the ground. We need to study the history of these countries to ascertain what will actually work, because looking at this purely from a European lens could be a bit misleading.
Well, indeed, the world is watching right now to see what takes place in Sudan and its future. Thank you so much, Joanna LeBlanc, the national security law and foreign policy expert. We thank you for joining us.